They were two young people made for each other.
It was like love at first sight.
They were engaged to be married.
They had hopes of a great future together.
Until a single gunshot shattered everything.
There's a man laying in the street.
He was bleeding from his head.
They told me, and I just screamed.
Had his past finally caught up to him?
He fell in with the wrong crowd.
The fast life is what he was used to.
And the risk, a lot of times, involves death.
Or was it an act of betrayal?
There was some discord in the relationship.
This is where I'm streets.
Remember when you were looking for death?
That's not the way anything went down.
She was telling somebody.
What is that? Are you gonna get me killed?
2016. It's a Monday night in Jacksonville, Florida, the Sunshine State's biggest city.
Not only is it home to nearly 1 million people, but it also sprawls across 800 square miles.
Jacksonville in landmass area is the largest city in the United States.
But Jacksonville also has some very big problems.
Our homicide rate is out the roof. Jacksonville has some lovely parts and then some parts where some people just don't feel the safest.
It's a little after 10 o'clock that evening when a call comes in from one of those parts of town.
Jacksonville 911.
There's a man laying out here in the street.
Do you think he needs an ambulance?
I see him bleeding.
But the driver doesn't intend to stick around and offer help.
I'm not getting out of the car to see if he's okay.
She was worried about whether or not the person who had hurt them was still in the area.
Although when officers arrive at the scene a few minutes later, there's only the man.
They find a black male laying in a pool of blood. He has the gunshot wound to the head. He doesn't have a pulse.
How he'd ended up on the side of the road isn't entirely clear.
There were pieces of shattered glass right beside his body.
They were consistent with automotive safety glass.
So it was either a drive-by shooting or the murder had occurred somewhere else and the body was dropped there.
All the police know for sure is that the victim is 31-year-old Eddie Brown.
They looked in his pockets and they found his identification as well as the keys to a nearby hotel.
But that's all first responders could find.
Jacksonville native Eddie Brown made a name for himself as a young man.
He was a very accomplished athlete. He was a star on a high school basketball team that won the Florida State Championship.
He had a very promising athletic future. So he had these huge hoop dreams. He wanted to go to the NBA or play professionally.
But those dreams were dashed in an instant.
When he was in college, his nephew was killed, and then that caused him to come home. It was like a part of his life shut off.
It might have broken him if he hadn't met Serena Tenney soon after.
I was, I think, 20 when I met him. We was at a club. I was walking past him, and he said, "Excuse me."
That was all it took.
I looked at him, and then I double took it, and the next thing you know, I just went to him.
Hey,
Sorry for bumping into me.
don't be.
I remember giving him my number, and it went from there. It was like love at first sight. We was always having fun.
But it was the way that Eddie doted on her daughter from a previous relationship that sealed the deal.
It's like, yeah, he's the one.
Before long, Serena was pregnant with Eddie's child.
He was just so happy.
They soon had a second child as well.
You know how they say most people, when you have kids, they change? 9 times out of 10, it be for the worse? No. He was the dad that gave them whatever they wanted. They played to sun up to sundown. He was a family guy. It was fun.
And after 7 years together, Serena and Eddie decided to finally make things official.
He came up behind me in the kitchen, and when I turned around, he slowly went down.
What are you doing?
Will you marry me?
Oh my gosh.
When he asked me, my mouth just dropped. And I was like, oh my God, are you serious? And then I told him yes, and we laughed. I cried.
But now, just a few months after the engagement, first responders are scrambling to save Eddie's life.
He was discovered on the side of the road with a gunshot wound to the head.
He didn't have a pulse.
Despite that, the EMTs don't declare him dead at the scene.
They put him on a gurney and started chest compressions.
They do take him to the hospital.
By then, detectives are on the scene.
Pulled up on the body, got some blood over there. I pulled a wallet out of his pocket. Eddie Brown, he's got some priors.
When police ran Eddie's name through the database, they found he had a lengthy rap sheet.
This may have been drug-related.
After a tragedy ended his dreams of stardom, Eddie Brown found love and fulfillment with his fiancée, Serena Tenney.
Will you marry me?
They had hopes of a great future together.
But now, EMTs have rushed Eddie to the hospital, his life hanging in the balance.
He has a gunshot wound to the head. He was found discarded on the side of the road like trash.
Detectives suspect the shooting was drug-related.
He had some drug history in his past.
The crime scene also offers detectives some possible clues.
They did have the shattered glass that they saw around him. It indicated that he was shot inside of a vehicle and pulled or pushed out of the vehicle.
Detectives also have the motel key card that first responders found in Eddie's pocket.
At that point, we went straight to the motel.
Talking to the hotel manager, they determined that he had been staying there for a few weeks.
Hi, good evening. Hey there.
Hoping it could reveal the shooter's identity, detectives also ask for copies of the motel security video.
I can put that on a thumb drive for you. That would be great.
Right. We appreciate it.
After securing the footage, the detectives head to the hospital to check on the victim.
By then, Eddie's fiancée learned of the shooting.
It was 2:48 in the morning. I'm like, who is this? Can I speak to Eddie? She said, do Eddie have any living family? And I'm like, wow, what's going on? And she was like, I need you to contact his family and get to the hospital now.
Serena called Eddie's parents and then raced to the hospital.
When she gets there, the doctor is waiting.
Where's Eddie? Where's Eddie? I got a phone call. Where?
And they said, I'm sorry, Eddie didn't make it. And I just freaked out. I lost it.
Serena is still trying to pull herself together when the detectives arrive at the hospital.
Serena?
Yes.
I'm a detective. I know this is tough.
I told her this case would not be a cold case, and I meant that.
She made it clear to investigators that he was a very important part of her life.
However, she also admits that Eddie was no angel.
Serena told police that he had been selling drugs to help with family expenses.
I told him I don't condone it, what you're doing.
Despite that, Eddie didn't stop.
It's fast, quick money, and it's hard to want to go back to a normal job and get a normal paycheck.
Still, Serena says she yearned for a normal life.
I said, that's not the life that I want for me or my kids.
That's why I called up the engagement and he moved out.
Which explained what he was doing at the motel.
Although according to Serena, Eddie had recently started having second thoughts.
He told me that he was gonna leave everything alone. He was like, I got stuff to take care of, but I'm gonna come home.
It kind of sounded like Eddie wanted to make one last big score before calling it quits.
Had it ended up costing Eddie his life?
And any idea who could have done this to him?
No.
Do you know any of the names of the guys he did business with?
No. I didn't want any part of it.
Thank you for your time.
Or is it possible Serena knew more about Eddie's death than she was letting on?
There was some discord in the relationship that may provide a motive.
Detectives hope the answer lies somewhere in the surveillance footage from Eddie's motel.
Yes, Scott?
As investigators scrub through the footage from the night Eddie died, they notice a white vehicle pull into a parking spot just before 10 p.m., just minutes before he was shot and killed.
On the video, a woman gets out of the SUV.
She walked up to Eddie Brown's motel room. He opened the door to let her in.
Serena was definitely not the woman that they had saw on the surveillance video.
Then, while Eddie and the mystery woman are inside his room, a man gets out of the same SUV and walks around the motel out of sight.
You could tell something was going on because he didn't stay inside the vehicle.
A few minutes later, Eddie and the mystery woman leave his motel room and get into the SUV.
She got inside the front driver's seat, and Eddie Brown walked around to the front passenger seat.
Then, as the mystery woman is pulling out of the parking space, the man who'd gotten out of the car suddenly reappears.
She stopped, got out of the vehicle, gave him a hug as though she just saw him, even though they had pulled up to the motel room together. And he got inside of the back passenger seat, and then they drove away.
The 911 call reporting Eddie shot on the side of the road came in just a few minutes later.
The detectives suspected he died inside that white SUV.
But who were the mystery woman and her passenger?
It was impossible to make out the license plate on the surveillance video.
Hoping Eddie may have been in contact with the woman prior to their meetup, the detectives subpoena his phone records.
They discover he received a phone call shortly before he was found dead.
Police then tracked that phone number to a person named Angel Hernandez.
When the detectives bring Angel in for questioning, he admits that he knows Eddie.
He knows him by the nickname of Brick.
But he says he's not the one that called Brick from his phone that night.
According to Angel, at 9:30 p.m., a woman he only knows as Shayla knocked on his door.
He knew Shayla from the street. She would occasionally come over and ask to use his phone.
And according to Angel, Shayla has someone with her.
Can I borrow your phone?
Can you describe him best you can? Black male, short hair, not stalking anything, average build.
There you go.
It sounded like the man from the video.
Angel says he'd let Shayla borrow his phone.
Eddie, we need to talk.
He couldn't hear everything that they were talking about.
But what he heard sounded urgent.
I get the sense that there was a worry.
In fact, it sounded like Eddie already knew what was going to happen.
Shayla, you're gonna get me killed.
Detectives investigating Eddie Brown's murder have a possible lead on the mystery woman who came to his motel room shortly before he was shot and dumped on the street a few blocks away.
His phone records that showed that the call he had received before he died was from a male that they hadn't been aware of before. His name was Angel.
But when police tracked down Angel, he swore he didn't make that call.
Hey, Shayla?
He says a woman named Shayla showed up at his door and asked if she could use his phone. She made a phone call to the victim, Eddie Brown.
And according to Angel, it was a tense conversation.
I can hear through the earpiece Cindy and Maud on the other side.
Angel said he overheard Eddie on the phone call say, "You're going to get me killed."
He said that to her?
Twice.
Obviously, there's a motive there that the investigators need to discover.
Could you tell whether she was trying to meet up with him later?
Definitely the conversation was sweet.
When detectives show Angel images from the motel surveillance videos, it appears that is exactly what happened.
Angel confirms that the woman in the video is Shayla, and the man who got in the back seat is the man she was with.
But that's about all that Angel knew.
You're ready to go? All right. Appreciate you coming in.
With Angel unable to identify the woman further, the detectives turned back to Eddie's fiancée, Serena.
They showed me a picture.
She didn't recognize the man, but she knew the woman.
That's not her real name.
She said, "You sure that's not Shayla?" I said, "No. Her real name is Felicia." And she did dates off a Backpage and a little street walking.
She was also a customer of Eddie's.
She'll go do dates to bring back more money to Eddie just to get her high.
But rumor has it, Felicia would sometimes skip the middleman.
She would trade Eddie sex for drugs.
She got drunk and she told me.
Serena admits that's what really caused the split between her and Eddie.
When she told me, I went in the house and I packed this stuff and I had to buy the front door.
That's the reason he was living in a motel. But recently he said...
But then, just before his murder, Eddie had told Serena he and Felicia were through.
He was like, "I just wanted to let you know I don't want nothing to do with her. I just want my family back."
If what Serena is telling them is true, did she just give Felicia a motive?
Police did wonder whether or not she may have been jealous of the fact that Eddie was going back to Serena.
5 days after the murder, detectives track Felicia down and start asking her questions about Eddie.
What happened earlier this week? I don't have nothing to do with that, man.
She told police that she had heard about his death on the news and that she was heartbroken.
And even though they were no longer involved, they were still good friends. They stayed in contact.
She also admits to seeing him the evening of the murder.
She wanted to buy some weed from him.
You want me to be honest, that's what I went for.
She tells detectives on the night of November 7th she borrowed a car from her friend named Pop.
Felicia says that Pop had also asked her to give a ride to a friend of his, a man she only knew as BT.
She did agree to give him a ride, but she told him that she had to run some errands first.
From Pop's place, they drove over to Angel Hernandez's house so that she could call Eddie. He told her to come by the hotel to buy some weed.
Then you went over there to the hotel? Yeah.
She said when she got to the motel, BT told her that he would just walk the rest of the way.
Only be a minute. Suit yourself.
Felicia says she'd left BT in the car and gone to Eddie's door.
But while she was inside, Eddie made her an offer.
You want me to take me to get something to eat?
But she says that as they were leaving, BT had suddenly reappeared.
What's up?
Walking.
Change my mind, man.
She told him that was fine, but that Eddie wanted to take her out for dinner first.
So BT got back in the car and they all headed out to dinner.
But according to Felicia, they didn't get far.
She said while they were driving to the restaurant, BT then gets a call from Pop.
Hey, this Pop, he say he need a ride.
Yeah, we can
go. Wait a minute, I'm up over there somewhere off a highway.
And by the time they got Pop, she felt like it was too late to go out to eat.
Felicia says she then drove herself home and gave the keys to the SUV to Pop.
Pop then got behind the wheel, and then the three men drove off together.
I didn't do anything.
According to Felicia, that's the last time she saw Eddie.
Last time I saw him, he was alive. Leaving.
And the conversation Angel overheard, the one where Eddie supposedly said Felicia was going to get him killed?
According to her, it never happened.
That's not the way anything went down.
And she swears she didn't have anything to do with Eddie's murder.
I'm not trying to be disrespectful. But for someone to even come at me like I did anything to him, no.
Detectives aren't quite ready to believe her. But before they lean on her any harder, they want to track down the man she knows only as BT.
It seemed likely that he had something to do with Eddie's death.
But before they can begin searching for him, they get a call from Angel Hernandez.
He told them that he had heard some talk from the streets.
He let them know Felicia had allegedly lent Eddie $500.
The problem is, she didn't have $500 to lend.
500?
She had stolen that $500 from her sugar daddy, a drug dealer by the name of Millie.
Was that why Eddie said she was going to get him killed?
Informant Angel Hernandez has contacted detectives investigating Eddie Brown's murder with a lead on the possible motive behind the crime.
Felicia had allegedly lent Eddie $500.
The problem is, she didn't have $500 to lend. She had stolen the $500 from a local drug dealer named Millie, or as she liked to call him, her sugar daddy.
Could that explain how Eddie ended up dead on the side of the road?
Allegedly, when Millie found out she had stolen the money, he became furious.
This is word on the streets, you know what I'm saying?
It would not be uncommon for a drug dealer to react to somebody that owed him money with violence.
Detectives immediately haul Millie in for an interview.
Need to ask you a few questions.
To make it clear that they're not there to discuss his drug activity.
They assure him they just want to talk to you about Eddie's homicide.
He denied knowing anything about the murder.
But he doesn't deny everything.
Millie said, "Oh, I knew about the $500.
Okay, so that money is yours.
He confirms to police that she did steal $500 from him.
I'm just guessing here. Maybe you wanted him dead because you guys had a beef.
But he denies any involvement in the murder, and he denies having any issue with Eddie.
I mean, I'm not with no beef and no.
All he wanted was his money.
Millie says he told her she better pay him back, and she better do it soon.
Was that why Felicia had gone to see Eddie that night?
She had the motivation to recover that money no matter what.
In addition to a possible motive, Millie also knew Lisa's likely accomplice.
BT is 26-year-old Blair Terry, and Pop's real name is Jason Stevens.
He also provides police with the address of where they can find Jason Stevens. They call it a trap house, and he told me exactly where it was located.
Is he telling the truth about any of it?
He knows the more helpful I am towards them, the less they're going to focus on me as a suspect.
The detectives weren't entirely sure that Millie was telling them everything that he knew.
But at the end of the interview, they have no choice but to let him go.
We didn't have anything to hold him on.
Then they follow up on his tip on where to find Jason.
We drive by that house numerous times, and we found a white SUV on the side of the road.
It was a match for the SUV in the motel video.
So I thought, wow, this is it. This has got to be the car.
Closer examination all but confirms it.
Look at this.
The passenger side window has recently been replaced, and the workmanship was very shoddy.
There's broken glass all over the seat.
They call out their crime scene investigators to come and do a full forensic investigation.
Let's go talk to him.
Yeah.
Then the detectives locate Jason inside the house and bring him in for questioning.
He did admit to the fact he loaned the vehicle out to Felisa Lapano.
You regularly let people use that vehicle?
Yes.
Okay, in exchange for money?
Mm-hmm.
She paid him $100 to borrow the vehicle.
Okay. Who was with her?
BT.
But that's where the similarities in Felicia and Jason's stories end.
Jason denied that he ever called BT to come pick him up.
He says he was at home the whole night.
He says he hadn't seen them from the time they picked up his car until the following morning.
When she gave you back the keys, did anything seem off or strange about her or the way she was acting?
No, not really.
But Jason says that when he went to drive the car an hour or so later, he was in for a shock.
The passenger side door window was shattered.
Broken out completely?
Completely.
They didn't tell him about it. They just dropped the car off.
Jason said he was furious. He wanted to know what happened to his car.
Jason says he'd reached out to BT for an explanation.
He gave me the answer that he was either him or me.
What are you even talking about?
I asked him, who is him?
Brick, man. It was Brick.
Brick was Eddie's street name that he was known by as a drug dealer.
According to Jason Stevens, a man named Blair Terry had all but confessed to the murder of Eddie Brown.
He basically stated it was either him or me.
Which suggested that Blair was the one who shot Eddie.
As he's telling you these things, are you asking any more questions?
No, not really. 'Cause now I don't even want to know no more.
BT did at least agree to pay for the window he shot out of Jason's SUV.
So he called a glass company, had the window repaired.
For the moment, detectives aren't sure that Jason is telling them the whole truth.
Felisa said that Jason called them later that night, asking them to pick him up, which he denies.
But as soon as CSI start examining Jason's SUV, there is little doubt they've uncovered the crime scene.
When you open the door, you can hear the glass inside the door frame. You could hear the glass shake.
Inside, other than a few scattered shards of glass, the car appears relatively clean.
But once we process the vehicle with the black light stuff, you can see there was blood all over that front seat. And the seat belt.
In the back seat, the detectives find more evidence of the shooting.
We found a .40 caliber shell casing underneath the floor mat in the back seat.
Which would be consistent with where BT was sitting on the video.
That was also consistent with Jason's story.
This solidifies the direction of their investigation and seriously looking at BT as the person who pulled the trigger.
Then, after sending blood samples from the SUV to the crime lab for testing, detectives bring Blair Terry in for questioning.
They started by getting him to admit that he knows Shayla.
Everybody around knew the white girl with the red hair as Shayla. How long have you known her?
I've known her for just like the smirks you see in her hair, see in her hair.
Then the detectives move on to the night of November 7th, the night of Eddie's murder.
He tells them they had been hanging out at a friend's place. You don't live there though, right? You just hang out there, or you just happen to be
No, I
there?
happened to just be there actually.
She mentioned she was going to borrow the car, so he asked her if she could give him a ride.
BT says that Felicia borrowed Jason's SUV and gave him a lift. but she made a few stops along the way.
The first stop was this guy's house that he didn't know. She told him that she needed to make a phone call.
This, of course, was that phone call that Angel Hernandez overheard.
She was telling somebody I was talking to him.
Yeah. What was she talking about?
I don't know. I wasn't focused on their conversation.
From there, they drove to a motel, and she told him to wait in the car while she went inside to talk to someone.
I'll only be a minute.
BT says he sat in the car for a while, but he eventually grew impatient.
She was taking forever, and I'm like, well, okay, what's going on? So I got out of the car.
He wandered around the parking lot for a bit until he saw Felicia driving off.
This was all confirmed by the surveillance video.
When you got back in the car, there was another guy sitting in the front seat.
Yeah, that kind of freaked me out. I ain't know who the ex was.
Yeah, who'd she say it was?
I don't know. She was like, this is her ex. She didn't say no name.
He said that he never knew Eddie's name.
In fact, he claims they were only in the car together for a few minutes.
He claimed that he was dropped off at a local gas station.
Blair Terry said that he was dropped off while the victim was still sitting in the front seat.
And Felicia's claim that they made a detour to pick up Jason Stevens, a.k.a. Pop.
I don't even know Pop being around.
He says Pop was never with them in the car. So you don't know anything about the window. She never mentioned anything to you about anything happening in that car?
No, ma'am.
He said he didn't know what the detectives were talking about.
Okay, well, someone was shot and killed in that. Someone was shot and killed.
What?
Yeah. Someone was shot and killed in that car.
That's why I'm here.
At that point, BT decides to stop the interview.
I want to talk to a lawyer or something like that because I don't know what's going on right now.
That's what Blair Terry claims. But when the detectives follow up on his alibi, they find reason to doubt him.
They went to that gas station and looked for the surveillance.
Nowhere that evening at all was there any evidence of the white car or of BT being anywhere near that gas station.
It's proof that Blair was lying to them.
But it takes the test results from Pop's SUV to provide definite proof of where the murder occurred.
The DNA came back from the Florida Department of Law Enforcement Biology Department, and that blood was a perfect match to the blood of Eddie Brown.
Once the test results are in, the detectives take both Felicia and Blair Terry into custody.
They had a probable cause to arrest both of them for the murder.
It's news Eddie's fiancée has been waiting to hear for weeks.
The lead detective called me January 15th, 2017. She said, Miss Tanny? I said, yes, ma'am. She said they was arrested for second-degree murder. I was happy. I was overjoyed.
But will her happiness prove premature?
The next challenge is going to be proving who pulled the trigger.
I don't want to hear another word from you.
Police have placed both Felicia Lapano and Blair Terry under arrest for the murder of Eddie Brown.
While both were charged with murder, detectives are convinced that Blair Terry pulled the trigger.
The full autopsy on Eddie Brown's body determines that the shot was fired from behind and to the left of the victim,
which was consistent with where BT was seated in the video just prior to the murder.
Will it be enough to convince a jury?
One of the first tactics they're going to use is to point the fingers at each other to try to create reasonable doubt.
Unsure they can secure a conviction, the prosecutors approach Felicia's lawyers with an offer.
She will be allowed to plead guilty to a reduced charge of second-degree murder. We needed her testimony to nail Blair Terry as the shooter.
But when it comes to sentencing, there's no guarantee.
In return for her testimony, her sentencing would be delayed until after BT's trial.
The prosecutors may have turned Felicia against him, but Blair Terry appears confident when he goes on trial for Eddie's murder.
It was intense. When he come out, we're already sitting out there, and he would just stare me in my face with a smirk on his face.
According to the prosecution, it was the look of a killer.
The prosecutors paint a picture, and they were able to weave all the elements together. BT's background and his criminal history and his violence.
Then, to make the picture complete, the prosecutors put Felicia on the stand.
She testified in the murder trial about what happened that evening. Felisa Lopano made that phone call to Eddie Brown's phone, and moments later, she pulls up to the motel with Blair Terry. She says she went to the motel to see Eddie to try to get back the money, and she took Blair Terry as backup just in case Eddie didn't want to pay her back.
Felicia says she and Eddie talked things out in the motel room.
Eddie, you gotta give me that money back.
You should have told me it was Millie's money.
That's why Eddie said to her, "You're going to get me killed."
It doesn't matter. You can get the money, right?
I guess. It'll take a minute, though.
Then they'd left Eddie's motel room to get something to eat.
But in the car, she and Eddie started to argue.
I can't believe you did this to me!
Bro, don't talk to her like that.
Blair took exception to the way Eddie was talking to her.
But according to Felicia's testimony, what Blair did next caught her totally by surprise.
Blair Terry ended up shooting him in the back of the head.
What'd you do that for?
She said she had no idea what Blair Terry was going to do to Eddie Brown, and she did not know that Blair Terry had a handgun. She said she just wanted to get her $500 back.
Instead, they now had to try to cover up a murder.
BT told her to pull the car over. She pulled the car over. He got out of the car, pulled Eddie's body out of the front passenger seat, laid it by the side of the road, got back in the car, and they left.
When it's the defense's turn, Blair Terry's attorneys maintain that he wasn't in the car when Eddie was shot.
Blair's defense was, just like he told the investigators, hey, I just got a ride from this lady. They dropped me off. I have no idea how it happened.
Those claims carry little weight with the jury.
Blair Terry is found guilty of murder. He is sentenced to life in prison without parole.
The life sentence without parole would be appropriate for that sort of senseless violence.
Eddie's fiancée doesn't see it that way.
I didn't call it justice because it didn't bring him back. But to know that because you took someone's life and you would never be able to live your life the way you want to, it gave me a little bit of peace.
But while Serena feels that Blair Terry's sentence falls short of justice, she believes Felicia's is an outrage.
She was sentenced to a 13-year prison term for second-degree murder.
I was livid about a 13-year sentence. That's not enough.
The reality is that people who cooperate and help the state get a conviction will get the benefit of helping the state get that conviction.
But that still leaves Eddie's family to deal with the aftermath of his untimely death.
He didn't deserve this. There's nothing in this case that would justify pulling the trigger and having Eddie Brown murdered.
As a victim of a violent crime, it didn't just impact him, it impacted all those people that cared about him. And he was a family man. He had people in his life that loved him.
It's just a heartbreaking situation for his fiancée and his kids. He had young children that won't really remember him.
Although for his fiancée, Serena, their children do give her a little piece of Eddie to hold on to.
He's not here physically, but I feel him when it comes through my kids. And at times it's like I get frustrated But then I remember, okay, maybe this is his way of telling me it's gonna be okay. Everything is gonna be okay. Just do what you gotta do. Hold on. Keep going. Keep fighting.
They'd worked tirelessly for years to build their American dream.
They saved money for a couple of years, and they were eventually able to purchase a gas station.
They seemed like a very loving couple and a good team.
The whole family was really nice and caring.
But in an instant, 4 members of this hard-working immigrant family are wiped out.
All 4 found in the house were shot multiple times, mostly in the head.
They're on the ground, they're bleeding. Somebody help me, please.
He had no idea what had happened.
Could a bad business deal be behind this brutal massacre?
There is a land deal dispute that was going on back in India.
The community did acknowledge that there is some corruption.
He must have hired somebody black, and so what my feeling is. They threatened him, and they say, you got to back out of this thing, or else you will lose your life.
Or were the motives for this crime much closer to home?
Let me see your hands! Hands!
He was acting strange since these murders occurred.
You're treating me like I am the criminal.
She knew it was going to happen.
He owed him a large sum of cash.
The bottom line is sex and money.
This was a very cold, calculated murder.
April 28th, 2019. It's a warm spring Sunday in Westchester Township, Ohio, about 20 miles north of downtown Cincinnati.
It is a very well-to-do area. It is a fast-growing area. It has good schools. It has good jobs.
It's kind of an up-and-coming area here in Ohio.
Westchester also offers an escape from the safety concerns that come with living in the big city.
The crime rate is very low, which really makes this a safe environment.
So it's unusual when a flurry of 911 calls comes in to Westchester Police around 9:45 p.m. that evening.
911, where's your emergency?
I hear gunshots. I've heard 5 now.
The calls are coming from an apartment complex on the west side of town.
Some guy is running around banging all the doors. He just doesn't sound right.
As officers race to the scene, one more call comes into 911. This time from 36-year-old Indian immigrant Gurpreet Singh.
My wife and my family are on the ground. They're bleeding.
Gurpreet is extremely emotional. Police suspect he's the man who's been banging on neighbors' doors for help.
Somebody help me, please!
When first responders arrive at the apartment complex, they proceed with caution.
The apartment unit was on the bottom floor, all the way in the back of the apartment complex.
Gurpreet is outside waiting for them.
Let me see your hands! Hands!
As officers approach Gurpreet, they see he's covered in blood.
Down on the ground! Down on the ground! Down on the ground! Lay on your belly!
At this point, police are unsure if Gurpreet is a victim in this crime or a potential suspect.
Leave my wife! Leave my wife, please! I got cover. You handcuff.
Gurpreet begs police to help his wife, Shalinderjeet Kaur, who's still inside the apartment.
Look, alarm going off. We're gonna be going in.
Can they help Shalinderjeet before it's too late?
For Indian native Shalinderjeet Kaur, nothing was more important than faith and family.
She was really nice. She was really caring.
Her parents, Hakika and Paramjit, had raised her as a devout member of the Sikh faith.
Sikh means learner. We believe in all humanity as a one, regardless who they are. Everyone belongs to God. We are supposed to work hard with our own hands and share with others who need it.
Another tenet of the Sikh faith is arranged marriage.
which is how Shalinderjeet met her husband, Gurpreet Singh, in March of 2002.
Shalinderjeet's parents knew Gurpreet's parents from the Sikh community, and together they decided the two would be a perfect match.
They met first time at their wedding. There were a lot of people there. There were singers. She was really looking pretty.
And after the wedding, it seemed like the couple was meant to be.
These two got along. They really enjoyed being with each other.
They seem like a very loving couple and a good team.
They eventually had 3 children, 2 daughters and a son. Shalinderjeet stayed home with the kids while Gurpreet worked in long-haul trucking.
With Gurpreet on the road often, Shalinderjeet's loving parents, Haqiqat and Parmjeet, moved in to help with the children.
The whole family was really nice and caring.
Haqiqat and Gurpreet were also trying to open up a business together to bring in another stream of income.
They saved money for a couple of years, and they were eventually able to purchase a gas station.
Together, the family was making strides towards a bright future.
They were really working together as a team.
But now, investigators are making their way inside the family's apartment and fearing the worst.
Based on the 911 call from Gurpreet, it sounds like there's been a massacre inside this apartment.
And once inside, a gruesome scene is revealed.
They're searching with their guns drawn, and they're encountering several victims.
Gurpreet's entire family is dead.
Indian natives Shalinderjeet Kaur and Gurpreet Singh had built their own American dream in Westchester Township, Ohio, with the help of Shalinderjeet's parents, Haqiqat and Parmjeet. But on April 28, 2019, local police have just discovered a bloody scene inside the family's apartment.
In the kitchen, they find the body of Gurpreet's wife, Shalinderjeet.
She was shot multiple times in the head, both from front to back and on the side of her head.
It appeared that she had been cooking food when she was murdered.
This is what set the fire alarm off right here.
In the living room, there are 2 more female victims.
Both of them have been shot in the head multiple times as well. I mean, this was complete overkill.
There were a bunch of 9mm shell casings throughout the apartment.
But the carnage doesn't end there.
There's a 4th victim in one of the bedrooms.
He was found in his bed with the sheets kind of pulled up to his neck still, and he had been shot, I believe, 6 times in the face. It was a very grisly, very awful scene for law enforcement to encounter, a very traumatic way for these folks to die, just horrific.
It's obvious that this happened very quickly. The entire family must have been gunned down in a matter of seconds before anyone had the chance to run or defend themselves.
As police continue processing the inside of the apartment, another officer is outside speaking with the sole survivor of this massacre, 36-year-old Gurpreet Singh.
I got to get information out of you to be able to help everybody involved, okay? So you're very, very important to me right now, okay? And I'm not trying to be rude or anything like that, but the more info I get, the better I can do my job, okay? Yes. Okay. Who all lives in the building?
Gurpreet explains that along with his wife and 3 children, he shares the apartment with his mother and father-in-law, Parmjeet Kaur and Haqiqat Singh Panag.
He also explains that his wife's aunt, Amaji Kaur, had been staying with them during an extended visit to the United States. So this explains who the other 3 victims are inside the apartment.
Gurpreet says, thankfully, his 3 children are currently with other relatives.
They were going to take them out for dinner and to see a movie and get ice cream.
Not right now, sir. Everybody inside is deceased. That's why it's very, very important for you to hold together and help me out so we can figure out what happened tonight, okay? I need you to be strong for me, okay?
At that point, Gurpreet is transported back to police headquarters to meet with homicide detectives and give an official statement.
When detectives walk into the room to begin their interview with Gurpreet, it's obvious that he's still in a hysterical state about what had just occurred.
Sorry for your loss. It was very important that we get some information from you, okay?
Okay. At this point, he's going through the emotional trauma, starting to realize that his entire family is dead.
But the question still remains, is he the one that killed them?
Detectives ask Gurpreet to walk them through the evening leading up to the shooting.
I was home all day because my back was hurting.
He explained that he spent most of the day lying down.
Gurpreet starts to feel better later in the evening, decides to leave out, as he says, around 7 o'clock, and go and work on his truck.
Gurpreet explains that his semi-truck needed some maintenance before his next long-haul run.
He was having an issue with the lights on the truck, and he really wanted to work on that.
Once he finished, went and got some gas, and he headed home just before 10 o'clock that night.
When he came back, the door was open to his apartment. He said that was not unusual because especially when they cook in that apartment, they keep the door open.
But Gurpreet says when he walked inside the apartment, the sight that greeted him was anything but usual.
That's when he made the gruesome discovery of his family members.
He tried to get her to respond, but he was unsuccessful. That's why he had blood all over him.
Somebody help me, please!
At that point, Gurpreet says he went into panic mode.
Afterwards, he went yelling and screaming to the neighbors, trying to ask everyone to call 911, asking for help.
Some guy is running around banging all the doors.
It's been all such a blur.
Gurpreet pleads with the detectives to find the person who killed his family.
Detectives asked him who could have done this, and he told them his family didn't have any issues or problems with anyone.
He said that he could not think of a single person who would have ever done this.
There was no reason why anybody would want to do this to his family. They asked Mr. Singh if his marriage was good, if anybody had cheated on anybody or something that could cause strain on the relationship.
Gurpreet adamantly denied having any issues whatsoever with his wife. He called her a good woman.
She was amazing. We loved each other very much.
To detectives, Gurpreet Singh seems like a broken man. But is there more to the story?
As they're escorting him out of the interview room, investigators tell Gurpreet they need to collect the bloody clothing he's been wearing since he was placed in custody at the scene.
They also asked Gurpreet to swab his hands to see if he had gunshot residue.
I've been telling everything you wanted to ask me.
Here, we're gonna get
Sir, please.
They say it's just a step that we have to go to make sure that you're not a suspect in this case.
So investigators are taken aback when his entire demeanor changes.
He refuses to consent to the swabs of his hands, and Gurpreet suddenly becomes very hostile.
No, you have to stay here.
Why?
Because I said so.
No.
After wrapping up their interview with 36-year-old Gurpreet Singh regarding the brutal massacre of his family, investigators are surprised when his demeanor suddenly shifts.
At the end of the interview, they tell him they need to do a gunshot residue test on his hands, but he's not having it.
He refuses to consent to the swabs of his hands, and so ultimately the police had to obtain a search warrant.
Sir, please.
We are going to get a search warrant for your hand.
Please.
You have to stay here.
Please. No, get your search warrant. Come to me. Do whatever
you have to stay here.
Why?
Because I said so.
No.
We were getting a search warrant.
What was a very low-key interview with Gurpreet suddenly becomes very hostile.
he just kind of loses it at this point. He's very rowdy and cantankerous.
You're treating me like I am the criminal.
I'm not saying you did anything wrong, but you're the first guy to show up where 4 people have been murdered. If we have certain evidence we need to get, if it exists.
Gurpreet is ready to walk out, and he says that he needs to go home and take care of his children.
No matter how detectives try to explain it to Gurpreet, he refuses to consent to the gunshot residue test willingly.
You're not allowed to leave.
Why?
Because
Under what crime I do?
you have potential evidence on you that we need to get with a search warrant.
Finally, detectives get a signed search warrant from a judge, and Gurpreet complies.
They really don't have any evidence to hold him at this point, so he's free to leave after they do the gunshot residue test.
Once the test has been sent to the crime lab, detectives can't help but wonder, was Gurpreet's refusal to cooperate the innocent behavior of an exhausted, broken-hearted man? Or something more nefarious?
It's normal and natural for family members to be a bit defensive and emotional at the onset. But you would also think, if you are completely innocent, you want to do everything you can to help investigators quickly find who the suspect is.
He could have just been genuinely offended that in this time of grief, police thought he could be capable of killing his family.
As investigators continue their search for answers, news of the tragic massacre spreads throughout the community.
I was in a car, my family called me and they said, just come home, just come home. That's it. And when I just got home, everybody just came to me and they just hugged me.
My younger brother called me about 6:15 in the morning. I could not believe what he told me. I thought maybe I'm having a nightmare. We lost 4 relatives all of a sudden. Then I started shaking, I was crying, and I could not stand.
But Ajaib also has information he believes could prove crucial to the investigation.
After the initial shock wore off, he went down to the station to meet with investigators.
Ajaib explains that his deceased relatives had recently been involved in a tense land dispute with an Indian real estate investor named Satinder Bhatia.
Namely, Gurpreet's father-in-law, Hakikat, had some bad blood with this man.
He got into deal with the Hakikat because Hakikat was selling his land in India.
Hakikat had a big property in India. It was multi-million property there.
But after Hakikat had already signed over the land to Satinder, the deal went awry.
What happened was a recession hit, and therefore he couldn't purchase the land.
And Satinder had other debts to pay.
He was involved in illegal activity here in US. He had committed some serious crime, but he fled to India before FBI could arrest him. They are drug charges here in the US.
Ajaib explains that regardless of Satinder's refusal to cooperate, Hakikat was determined to get his land back.
He was saying, give me the money, I will transfer ownership because this is the contract we wrote.
It was becoming very contentious because Satinder was not bending or transferring ownership of the land back to Hakikat, but he also wasn't paying for it.
So Hakikat decided to get the courts involved.
Hakikat filed a case in the court, and court decided in favor of Hakikat.
Satinder and his associates were furious.
They threatened him. They say, you got to back out of this thing or else you will lose your life.
Now had Satinder followed through on his violent claims.
Ajaib tells the detectives that he wouldn't be surprised if somebody in that land dispute might be trying to hurt the family.
They must have hired somebody. That is what my feeling is.
Thanks to Ajaib Singh, detectives have uncovered a possible motive behind the brutal execution-style murders of 39-year-old Shalinderjeet Kaur, her parents Parmjeet and Hakikit, and her aunt Armajit.
The family had recently been involved in a tense land dispute and legal battle with a dangerous real estate investor named Satinder Bhatia.
Detectives were wondering if a hit was put out to eliminate an entire family opposed to selling things in court in India over the land.
They must have hired somebody. That is what my feeling is.
This kind of lines up with the idea that maybe it was a skilled assassin that tried to take out this entire family.
In fact, Ajaib reveals that he spoke with his sister Armajit just hours before the murders, and she didn't seem like herself.
She called around about 6:40, 6:45 in the evening. She was saying that she was scared at that time. She was talking, but she wanted to get out of that place like immediately.
I could see, from her voice and from her sound that she was scared for something.
Something was about to happen. She knew it's going to happen.
She's thinking that she's going to die.
Ajaib says he could have never imagined his sister's dark premonitions would come true.
A little after 9 o'clock, I called her, and I called her 2 or 3 times. There was no answer. Then I thought maybe she's gone to bed. I did not know what happened to my relatives.
But if the massacre of this family was really part of a coordinated hit by Satinder Bhatia, why did he let Gurpreet Singh live?
He's still on their radar. Gurpreet's response when he was asked for that whole gunshot residue test made them wonder, maybe they do need to look into him a little bit further.
And when investigators ask Ajaib about Gurpreet, he admits he too had noticed some strange behavior from his niece's husband.
He conveys to investigators that Gurpreet actually was acting strange since these murders occurred.
Gurpreet, since the murders, has not reached out to any of his deceased wife's family, which is very unusual in their community.
I'm not pointing, but traditionally back in India, when wife dies, husband or husband's family contacts wife's immediate relatively right away.
I had to cremate them. I had to arrange everything. I had to go to the place where I did not know anyone. That was awful. No brother should see a day where he has to cremate 2 sisters and a niece.
However, despite Gurpreet's strange behavior, Ajaib says he doesn't think his niece's husband is capable of gunning down his own family.
To do this thing, the gruesome murder, I don't think he can do it.
After their interview with Ajaib, detectives reach out to other members of the local Sikh community to learn more about Satinder Bhatia. But their lead quickly loses steam.
They didn't believe that Satinder will have enough connection, enough pull to reach the family here in the United States.
The community did acknowledge that there is some corruption in India, but to plan a quadruple murder in the United States takes some significant reach.
However, friends of the family offer up another potential motive, one that could flip the entire case on its head.
It was very well known in the Sikh community that Gurpreet was having an affair.
If this extramarital affair is true, now Gurpreet has a motive to murder his wife.
Ohio investigators have just learned that 36-year-old Gurpreet Singh was having an affair in the months leading up to his wife Shalinderjeet Kaur's death.
It was very well known in the Sikh community that Gurpreet was having an affair.
There were other friends who said that they were aware of the affair, and the implication was always that the affair was something that Shalinderjeet knew about.
Where have you been?
I was just working on my truck.
We were advising Shalinderjeet to leave, and she would not leave.
She never left Gurpreet because she don't want to ruin the life of the kids.
Who is she, Gurpreet? Don't lie to me.
I'm telling the truth. There's nobody else.
Nobody in the community could give detectives the name of the person, but if this extramarital affair is true, now Gurpreet has a motive to murder his wife.
Hoping to get some definitive answers, detectives subpoena Gurpreet's phone records and discover that he has been in regular communication with a woman named Jasmeet Beatty.
She was a woman who lived in Indianapolis, and she had been divorced in 2018.
Indianapolis is one of the stops that Gurpreet often makes on his truck route.
When detectives reach out to Jasmeet, she seems shocked and saddened by the circumstances of their call.
I just can't believe this. Gurpreet must be devastated.
She confirms that she and Gurpreet are very good friends. She met Gurpreet through a relative who's also a truck driver, and when he's in the Indianapolis area, they meet up, but there's nothing more than that.
Has the relationship ever been romantic in nature?
With Gurpreet? No, of course not.
She said she does not have any type of sexual relationship with Gurpreet.
We're just friends.
Friends that have a lot of contact over the phone, it seems.
When detectives continue pressing her about her relationship with Gurpreet, she finally starts to cave and tell them the truth.
Okay, fine.
She just breaks down and tells them everything. That, yes, she was having an affair with Gurpreet.
She's coming clean. She says he spends a lot of money on me, and we're talking lavish gifts. $20,000 for a down payment on a home, paying the mortgage, buying a vehicle for her.
He's always there when I need him.
Perhaps most shocking of all, Jasmeet tells detectives that Gurpreet had bought his own home in Indianapolis, just down the road from hers.
He bought a house near her so that he can stay near her when he is in town driving his truck.
So while his wife's family, and the children were living in a very cramped apartment, Gurpreet's mistress was living a life of luxury.
He's actually planning to move here full time.
Jasmeet told investigators that Gurpreet had planned to move his family to Indianapolis to be closer to her while still basically living this double life.
Based on everything detectives have learned, it certainly sounds like Gurpreet had reason to want Shailenderjeet and his in-laws out of the picture.
However, Jasmeet assures investigators there's no way Gurpreet could have committed the murders.
Gurpreet is a kind, loving man. He would never kill his family.
She says she can't imagine him doing such a thing.
But after speaking with Jasmeet, detectives uncover even more information pointing towards Gurpreet.
Gurpreet was furious with his father-in-law, Hakikat.
Their dispute centered around the gas station business they'd started together, a business that eventually tanked.
It was a complete failure, and Gurpreet blamed that on Hakikat.
Gurpreet believed his father-in-law owed him a large sum of cash.
Gurpreet said he was out $100,000.
I want my money.
How you can't say that? We made these decisions together.
Part of the reason Hakikat had gotten involved with Satinder Bhatia was in an attempt to pay back Gurpreet.
Gurpreet always wanted that money, so he pressured Hakikat to sell that property so he can get all that money.
Witnesses claimed that Gurpreet had actually beaten Hakikat during one of their arguments about the funds.
Gurpreet was cheating on his wife, and his father-in-law owed him a large sum of cash. This was sufficient reasons to murder everyone.
And when the results of Gurpreet's gunshot residue test come in, they're the nail in his coffin.
That test revealed the presence of gunshot residue on both of Gurpreet Singh's hands.
What it means is he fired a gun.
The evidence is enough for investigators to obtain an arrest warrant for Gurpreet on 4 counts of aggravated murder. However, when police go looking for their suspect, they run into a problem.
Gurpreet is nowhere to be found.
There was some concern that he might be fleeing the United States.
By July of 2019, Ohio police have zeroed in on 36-year-old Gurpreet Singh for the brutal quadruple murder of his wife, Shalinderjeet Kaur, and her family members.
This was a violent crime, the likes of which the community had never seen before. When everyone realized Gurpreet had done this to his own family, it was stunning.
It has affected us tremendously. It's hard to describe how bad it has affected us. We were really shocked.
Now, police are ready to arrest Gurpreet for the crime. But there's just one problem.
Gurpreet is nowhere to be found, and neither are his children.
Weeks go by, but finally, thanks to tips from the local Sikh community, detectives learn that Gurpreet has moved out of Ohio in the wake of the murders.
By that time, he had moved his children to the house that he had built and purchased in Indianapolis.
The same house that was just down the street from his mistress, Jasmeet.
Homicide.
But when detectives coordinate with their counterparts in Indianapolis to make an arrest, Gurpreet disappears again.
What do you mean he's not there?
There was some concern that he might be fleeing the area, and so law enforcement wanted to arrest him before he'd have an opportunity to leave the United States.
Thankfully, on July 2nd, 2019, more than 2 months after the murders, Ohio police finally receive a solid tip about Gurpreet's whereabouts.
Investigators learned that Gurpreet is in Connecticut for a family wedding.
Put your hands up!
He was arrested just outside a shopping center in Connecticut.
But once he's in police custody, Gurpreet refuses to say anything more to detectives.
Gurpreet did not make any statements one way or the other to police, and he hasn't really said a word about this case since then.
Let's go. Come on.
Regardless, investigators charge him with 4 counts of aggravated murder.
After more than 3 years of COVID-19 pandemic delays, Gurpreet's trial begins in October 2022. Prosecutors seek the death penalty, arguing Gurpreet's motive was twofold: eliminating his wife for another woman, and anger at his father-in-law over money.
Gurpreet was having trouble keeping up the elaborate double life he created for himself.
All that time demanding money, more and more money. His greed continued to go on and on and on.
To Gurpreet's dismay, his mistress, Jasmeet Bedi, takes the stand to bolster the prosecution's case.
She confirmed that she was in a relationship with Gurpreet, and he was spending thousands and thousands of dollars on her.
According to prosecutors, on April 28, 2019, Gurpreet's dire situation reached a tipping point.
Gurpreet was getting desperate. He was running out of money, and if he didn't do something soon, this secret double life he'd built would be exposed.
Prosecutors argue that Gurpreet plotted the murders carefully, first making arrangements for the children to spend the evening with relatives.
Hey, can I drop off the kids with you for a little while?
Then he went to do some work on his truck in an effort to establish an alibi.
Prosecutor said when he got home after working on his truck at 9 p.m. that he just unleashed fury on his family.
The prosecution actually created a 3D model to illustrate the carnage that had happened inside that apartment.
When Gurpreet arrived home at 9 p.m., he went straight to the back bedroom where Haqiqat was sleeping.
They believe that because of the dispute that they had with him, that he was the first victim in the bedroom.
He never got out of bed. He was asleep and never saw or heard the first shot coming.
6 of those bullets went into the head of Haqiqat. It speaks to a level of rage and a level of anger.
After his father-in-law was dead, prosecutors say Gurpreet returned to the living room where Parmjeet and Amarjeet had been watching TV.
Investigators believe they had been trying to flee when Gurpreet shot them. They must have heard the shots from the bedroom and knew something was wrong.
Lastly, Gurpreet made his way to the kitchen where his wife had been cooking dinner.
She must have heard everything else that happened and been completely terrified. No one saw this coming.
Gurpreet, what have you done?
This was a very personal, this was a very angry, this was a very cold, calculated murder. His own wife had a double tap entry wound to her skull.
After gunning down his family, Gurpreet knew he needed to get rid of the murder weapon and disposed of it in a nearby pond.
A neighbor described shortly after hearing gunfire a loud splash coming from the pond behind the apartment complex.
After Gurpreet's arrest, investigators searched the pond by the apartment complex and located a 9mm handgun.
The forensic scientists were able to conclusively demonstrate that the gun that was found in the pond was the gun that was used to kill all 4 of these people.
After he got rid of the weapon, Gurpreet started setting up his alibi.
He then calls 911, says he has happened upon this crime scene, and from the very beginning, he started a series of lies.
Help me, please!
The 911 call was received at approximately 9:45 p.m. And on that call, Gurpreet Singh that he just got home and had called 911 immediately. What we later learned was he had been home since about 9:09 p.m., 30 minutes prior to calling 911.
We also looked at the victims' devices that were found in the residence, and they were using their phones basically until Mr. Singh came home. So we knew that they were alive in the apartment until shortly after he came home.
Although their case is largely circumstantial, prosecutors feel confident the evidence is enough to convict Gurpreet.
All of the evidence very clearly demonstrated that it was Gurpreet and Gurpreet alone who pulled the trigger.
So the entire courtroom is shocked when the jury returns after 2 days of deliberation, hopelessly deadlocked.
11 jurors believed his guilt had been proven beyond a reasonable doubt, but one particular juror would not be convinced, regardless of what the other jurors told her.
We were expecting that it's a clear-cut case, but it was a mistrial, and it was really shocking.
We just could not believe that how can somebody not convict in this situation when everything pointed to him.
Prosecutors refused to let Gurpreet off the hook that easily, though.
In May 2024, they take him to trial for a second time.
This time, Gurpreet opts for the case to be presented to a panel of 3 judges rather than a jury.
In this instance, the 3-judge panel unanimously agreed that the defendant, Gurpreet Singh, was guilty of the aggravated murder of these 4 people.
He was sentenced to death as the ultimate outcome.
For the family of the victims, it's an overwhelming moment.
That moment when the judge said that, we all were crying because we tried to fight for them. They deserve justice, and they got it.
It was unbelievable. Finally, we got justice.
Still, the outcome doesn't take away from the senselessness of this tragedy.
The bottom line is sex and money. That's why he committed it.
To do this and then lie about it and carry on a relatively normal life afterwards, it really just speaks to the sick mind and heart of somebody who could do something like that.
This was a family of kind-hearted, hard-working immigrants who didn't remotely deserve what happened to them.
It's unimaginable. It's hard for us to take this loss. And I miss them. Up to today, I miss them.
James Brown and Darnell Jones seek out a talented son.
I got drafted in the first round by the Boston Red Sox that day.
While charming a determined mother.
For me, it was a goal for them to achieve.
As the two star makers troll for new clients.
They would go and hang out in the bleachers, and they'd hear about a young kid.
He wasn't even in high school, and they spotted him and his talent.
They gain trust.
You know, just doing all the things that an uncle or father figure would do, and all of it seemed genuine.
But their doing well is not necessarily them doing right.
They would say, I'll look after your son, and then go out and do completely the opposite.
Here's your $575,000 in the bank this day. Days later, gone.
It's 1990 in Columbia, South Carolina, where athletes are revered if they're good, worshipped if they're great. For many African-American teens, sports and music are often their best shot at achieving the American dream.
That's part of your dream, not just to play sports, but to earn the money that enables you to get the kind of house you always wanted, in the kind of neighborhood you wish you could have always lived in.
Just 14 years old, all-around athlete Corey Jenkins already has his pick of any sport.
He was such an outstanding prospect. I mean, by the time he was in high school, Corey Jenkins was a local legend.
Sports meant to Corey everything, because it's something he always wanted to do since he was a little boy. He just always said, I'm gonna be in the NFL one day.
Corey's Bluff Road neighborhood doesn't have many success stories, but he plans to be one of them.
He lived in projects with his mother and brother and sister. They lived on the poor section of Columbia.
It was very bold for Corey, coming out of the neighborhood that he's coming out of, to be able to keep the faith that he would actually make it to become a professional athlete.
Corey wants sports to be his ticket out.
Sports should have been a way out or a way up for someone growing up in the circumstances that Corey faced when he was young. And he did everything right.
Here, Corey Jenkins is everyone's All-American.
I still haven't seen anybody that good. He was the best at 15. He was the best at 18.
At 16, he's still too young to go pro, but his talent and physique scream major leaguer.
His name came up all the time. You can't go anywhere in this city without someone knowing who Corey Jenkins is.
As a kid, Corey has only one mission.
That's all I did. Live, breathe, eat, sleep, sports.
6'2" and 200 pounds, Corey is a hunk of money-making potential, and Columbia's newest sports management company, Summit, is all over that. More and more, Corey is being scoped out by sports agents. They may not be officially recruiting him yet, but he's got their attention. Around here, moms and their sons are accustomed to the rite of passage. Slick-talking reps wanting to represent their child.
Agents can come out of anywhere. And it's very hard for young kids to sort out who's real and who's fake, who has a good track record and who doesn't.
Like a lot of other people, James Brown and Darnell Jones of Summit Management are drawn to the teenager. They already have a cadre of local talent.
They put a pretty impressive roster together, including Stephen Davis, who went on to play for the Redskins, Preston Wilson, who went on to have an impressive major league career.
One spring evening, after spotting Corey and his family in the bleachers at his older brother's baseball game, Brown and Jones pounce, taking the opportunity to talk to Rachel. They promise to be in regular attendance at Corey's games. At first, Rachel is neither surprised nor impressed.
I didn't know them from Adam's House Cat. And they just kept saying, I'm going to see you soon, I'm going to see you soon, because we've heard great things about your son, Corey.
James Brown is a no-nonsense guy with a son a couple of years older than Corey. And Darnell Jones is an entrepreneur with a flair for expensive clothing. Like many of the kids they wish to manage, Jones and Brown come from similar circumstances.
They were basically from the same background that he was. They knew what it was rise up from the projects and to make a way in the world.
The similarities with Corey don't end there.
They both played, not at any kind of professional level, but they played in the area. There's another factor, too. They were both African American, and they knew how to play the race card.
These two have it all. The right cars, the right clothes, the right words.
They drove the brand new big body Lexus. They had the suits on with the suspenders and the nice cufflinks with their initials on them.
In Corey's Bluff Road neighborhood, Corey doesn't see many men like these two, unless they're doing something illegal.
At that time where I lived, you didn't see black men that looked that way. You didn't see black men that drove fancy cars. Not like that.
That Brown and Jones are black and have lived lives similar to Corey's and have made good legitimizes them. The duo always has high praise for Corey's talent and potential.
They told me some things on the inside scoop, like your son is good and, he has great potentials and we can help him.
When you're working on your dreams, you need as many people around you who can be supportive and encouraging as possible. That's part of how that dream is birthed into reality.
A talented young kid like Corey is an ideal client for Jones and Brown. He's someone they want to keep an eye on.
They watched me and saw me play as an 8th grader. Obviously, they heard the talk about me being this spectacular athlete.
Corey's so good that coaches are delighted to have him play on the school varsity team with his older brother D before he was even in the 9th grade. James Brown and Darnell Jones make good on their promise to Corey's mom that they will attend more of Corey's games. Hoping for a good future for him, Corey's mother shields her son from negative outside influences. To Corey, Rachel is a strict disciplinarian.
My mom knew I live and die sports. I'd get in trouble and she'd take that away.
Wanting the best for her children, Rachel pushes them to excel.
For me, it was a goal for them to achieve, something to shoot for, something to achieve that nobody else had done. So it was very important.
Missing his own dad after his parents' divorce, Corey loves that Jones and Brown are emerging as father figures.
These were men who showed up at his games just to support him. Sure as the sun was setting, they would call later.
Father figures are so critical to young African-American males because as great a job as single mothers have been doing raising their kids, there's still something that boys learn from other males.
For Corey, seeing James and Darnell in the stands is validating. They seem to be saying, we're behind you, and someday you can have what we have. Then, they'd give him a little glimpse of the good life, buying him shoes and taking him out for great meals.
They go to big-time buffets and food places. I'm like, damn, this is what it's like to live that life,
It wasn't just Corey's athletic potential that kept them around. They seemed to genuinely care about his well-being, almost like family. If the men of Summit Management have made it out of the projects, maybe they can lead Corey down the right path too. Over time, Darnell and James become more like family members than business associates.
They came around on holidays, man. Thanksgiving, Christmas. When people do things like that, if you're a genuine person, you think they're doing it just to be genuine.
Corey's luck changes when he has a major setback during his senior year.
My first round of the playoffs, I wound up breaking my leg in the 3rd quarter.
Corey's broken leg could be a career ender to another athlete, but James and Darnell are there to provide Corey with exactly the help the 17-year-old needs to recover. It's a relief to Corey and his family.
He had to have surgery, and Darnell and James made sure that he went to the best rehab specialist. They rebuilt that leg, got it stronger, made sure that he would be ready for baseball.
Not only do they make sure Corey is ready for baseball season, they put the word out to Major League scouts, hot to see this young star perform for the first time since his injury.
When they found out I was playing again, my first game back, there's about 20, 25 scouts out there.
Corey is nervous about running on his mending leg, but Jones and Brown are right there encouraging him. They assure him he can do it.
After that, they let me know right then and there, you just put your stock right back through the roof,
Bouncing back from an injury and posting good numbers, by his senior year of baseball, Corey is playing better than ever. It won't be long until professional teams come courting officially, and Summit already has built up goodwill with Corey's family. Unlike the other agents from New York, LA, and Atlanta, Summit is local. Conference calls and scheduled meetings aren't necessary.
James and Darnell, they were right here in town. We didn't have to get on a plane to go see them. They didn't have to fly in to see us. They were 10-minute drive.
On May 12, 1995, 4 years after that first meeting in the bleachers, 18-year-old Jenkins signs a personal services deal that gives Summit Management 10% of Corey's contracts and investment profits and 15% of any endorsements.
Basically, you give them a percentage of your take. Now, that's fair. That's how agents in any field work.
When Corey came and told me who he had actually signed with, I didn't understand why.
Summit doesn't include Corey's longtime coach in the pursuit of the phenom. Coach Blackman has never even met them.
I never received a letter from Summit, Corey never even introduced me to him.
But as a teenager, Corey doesn't fully understand or care about the rules for choosing an agent, a decision with potentially big consequences. Next, while Corey plays ball, Brown and Jones play games.
But little do I know, they had big plans for us, man.
From the time he could throw a ball, 18-year-old Corey Jenkins has dreams of playing professional sports. Hard work, natural talent, and great agents are making that dream come true.
All I want to do is go play ball.
James Brown and Darnell Jones have put Corey in the spotlight. Corey finishes up the school year and is awaiting news about the Major League Baseball draft. The call could come any day. He's in high school, and in baseball, he doesn't have to play in college to go pro. Corey's high school graduation comes on June 1st, 1995. It's a big day for the whole family. They're proud of the youngest Jenkins.
We were in the Coliseum at graduation, and it was almost ironic that my mom's phone rings as Corey's walking across the stage.
It was a message with the news that Corey had been drafted in the first round.
When I got the message that Corey was drafted 24th in the first round by the Boston Red Sox, I was telling everybody.
His hard work has paid off. Corey is just a play away from being a pro baseball player. The kid who grew up in the projects with his mom, living paycheck to paycheck, has just struck gold. He'll live the life of the athletes he idolized.
Man, that was probably one of the most exciting, eventful days of my life.
Corey Jenkins is on his way to the big leagues and the big bucks that come with it. In this case, more than $500,000. Now it's Summit's job to manage all that money.
When you coming from a single family home and, when somebody's telling you $575,000.
Words really can't describe it, but we were so happy.
Caring for his mom is Corey's #1 priority.
I don't want my mom to have to worry about bills. I don't want my mom to have to worry about nothing, because I have seen her struggle.
Once again, Jones and Darnell are coming through for Corey, just like a dad would. They assure him they'll handle everything: the bills, the taxes, purchases, and investments.
Hey son, we got you. We're here for you. We're in your corner, period.
Within days, Corey signs over his power of attorney to Summit Management, giving them control of his earnings.
A power of attorney should be rarely given, and it should only be given where you really can't do that because you're incapacitated or you're a minor or something of that nature.
Summit Management also handles Corey's first and only big purchases with the signing bonus: a car for his mom and a house of her dreams.
His money did help a lot because it bought me a beautiful home that I always wanted. He bought me a wonderful car.
For himself, Corey gets only one thing, something he's always wanted: an SUV.
Everything else, whatever my mom wants, she gets. All right? I wanted my own vehicle. That's it.
After struggling for years, Corey is finally able to fulfill his promise of taking care of his family by doing something he loves.
Corey was thinking as a young African-American male in a house with a single mom and brothers and sisters.
Rachel and Kelly move into the new home, only a few miles down the road, but a world away from the projects. While Corey's mom continues to work full-time, not having to worry about bills is also a luxury. Corey just needs to play ball, and Summit will take care of everything else.
He was a first-round draft pick. This is the signing bonus amount. Car for him, car for mom, house for mom. And he just went off and played baseball.
As a training ground for the big leagues, the minor league farm system takes players on the road to small cities all around the country as they vie for a spot in the major leagues. It's a new experience for Corey, who'd never been outside of Columbia, South Carolina.
That was my first time I've ever left home. without my mom for a long, long period of time.
With the signing of Jenkins, business at Summit picks up. Darnell Jones and James Brown are busy finding more young stars like Corey.
They would go and hang out in the bleachers, and they'd hear about a young kid, and then they would start to buy him sneakers, take him out to lunch. They'd let him drive around in their car. They might give some money to their mother.
They impress other young athletes with their cars and clothes, selling their moms on the hope of success.
The majority of the cases, the kids were lacking a father figure in the home.
That they were African-American men trying to help their kids succeed means a lot to these moms. Summit's roster of clients includes baseball players Reggie Taylor and Gookie Dawkins, as well as Redskins running back Stephen Davis. Jones and Brown make sure their recruits feel like they're part of a family.
Their office was like a second home. There was a pool table, there were video games, there was a refrigerator with food, there was a small kitchenette. The guys could go there and hang out.
These stand-in dads are showing their surrogate sons how to live big. Before the athletes sign on the dotted line, the agent duo picks up the tab at the best spots, buy the players custom clothes, and drop big bucks at gentlemen's clubs. When the recruits are on the road, Brown and Jones keep in contact by phone, offering long-distance pep talks.
Anything that's just encouraging you during the downtimes is what can keep that whole dream going, when it would be so easy to just give up on yourself and say, I'm never going to make it.
They builded us to a level that was so high, we felt like we were going to be okay for a very long time.
By August 1998, Corey is traveling from one small town to another in the minor league farm system, waiting for his shot at the majors.
All I thought about was just trying to move up level after level after level after level. I was just trying to get to the major leagues.
From the road, Corey always keeps in touch with his mother and Summit.
And it was always, oh, mom's fine. You know, all the bills are taken care of. She don't have to worry about anything. Everything's fine.
But everything isn't fine. Back in Colombia, out of the blue, just months after moving there, Corey's mother gets a letter threatening foreclosure on her brand new dream house. She owes more than $10,000 on her home.
So that's when I started getting on the phone with James and Darnell.
Next, the money may be gone, and the family's on edge.
And I said to her, you spend all the money. She's like, how am I spending all the money?
It drew a wedge between us that was bigger than any valley could ever stretch.
Corey Jenkins' sports agents, Darnell Jones and James Brown of Summit Management, are watching over Corey's hard-earned money, paying all the bills. But his mom, Rachel, says she's concerned that her son doesn't have a handle on his own earnings.
I think you were the best manager of your own money, was my major concern with Corey's. And he would always say, well, Mom, if you want something, you just ask J.B. Darnell.
A lot of young athletes do mismanage their money simply because they don't realize how little they have left after everybody takes their cut. They just think, wow, I have this big sum of money, and all of a sudden I can get myself all the things I ever dreamed of.
Recently, the men have told Rachel that funds are getting low because Corey is spending too much. She believes her youngest son is dropping dough on a high school girlfriend.
She was very materialistic, so he was doing things for her that she wanted and buying things for her.
I think the smartest move that Summit Management made, if they made any smart moves, and from my perspective they made none, would be the power of attorney.
Having the power of attorney means Brown and Jones are in control of Corey's $500,000 signing bonus and his minor league salary. It also means that they're the only ones receiving bank statements, the only ones who know where the money is and how it's being spent.
I just remember my mom telling Corey, because being aware that they had power of attorney, you need to check on your money.
Then Rachel receives an upsetting call.
The car had not been paid in like 3 or 4 months and was going to be repossessed. And I was like, okay. So that's when I started getting on the phone with James and Darnell. But they always said, we're going to take care of it. You don't need to worry about that.
Rachel takes them at their word. She believes they paid her mortgage and car notes up to now. Then, in the fall of 1998, Corey stops by the Summit offices to see his friends, Jones and Brown. What was a friendly meetup soon turned serious.
You know, so we sat down, we talked, and they made it seem to me that we were starting to have money issues. Money issues meaning my mom was spending too much money.
Corey can't believe what he's hearing, that his mom is just giving away cash.
I'm like, are you serious? My mom would inform me when she sent money to a family member.
Money is a hot button issue, especially within families. So it was kind of believable to him that his mom might have taken the money thinking, well, she thinks I have it. And so she's taking it thinking I have enough, but she took too much and now I've got nothing.
According to Brown and Jones, Rachel has been siphoning quite a lot of his money each month into her personal account. It adds up to thousands of dollars. 3 years into his minor league baseball career, Corey Jenkins' $575,000 signing bonus is dwindling fast. With Corey's father figures telling him about his mother's bad spending habits, a shocked son decides to confront his mother.
I go over to my mom's house, and I say, Mom, we need to talk. She's like, yeah, we do need to talk. We're in the kitchen. My mom's up cooking. I'm sitting down at the table. And she goes off and says, you're spending too much money, honey. What? That was my reaction. Huh? I said, Mom, no way.
With only a few $1,000s left in his account, Corey explains to his mother that he's been to the Summit offices, and Brown and Jones say that she's the one spending too much. Corey should have a trust, but his surrogate fathers blamed his mother for the lack of funds, and Rachel can't talk any sense into Corey. Their conversation begins to spiral out of control.
He was beyond reasoning at that point. He was crying, he was yelling, he was flapping his hands and carrying on. And I'm still sitting at the table going, I did not do this to you. I didn't. I would not do this to you.
But Corey believes the numbers, not his mother. He saw it in black and white. The more Rachel tries to convince him something else is going on, the more upset he becomes.
Because the only thing he knew is, I don't have any money. And somebody spent my money, and they're saying you did it.
When he thought that his mother was stealing money from him, he must have felt the ultimate sense of betrayal. She's the person who knows more than anybody how hard he's worked to earn that money.
But if Rachel is siphoning off her son's account, she doesn't have much to show for it.
Mom didn't have a jewelry chest full of gold and silver. Mom didn't have Louis Vuitton and all those other designers. That's just not me.
Corey just walks away, questioning whether the mother he trusts is telling him the truth. In February of 1999, while Corey is still convinced his mother is overspending, Corey's SUV is repossessed. Weeks later, Rachel's car is taken too. Then other past due notices began rolling in.
It just started being a domino effect. It was the cars, then it was the credit cards, and then I think the last thing was the house. The house was in foreclosure.
When Corey calls the men who manage the money to request enough to handle the family's troubles, Jones and Brown aren't to be found.
I'm calling both of them, and it's like, they don't answer. That's a problem.
The pair's absence and willingness to put the blame on Corey's mom give Corey a revelation.
I said the two magic words, James, Darnell. Me and my mom got back together. We talked, and we came to the conclusion, son, they working us against each other.
This ability to look someone in the eye and tell you that they have only your interest and lie right to your face to take money. There is just something that is disconnected and missing from these people, and they are predators.
First, Summit defaulted on a house payment, then car payments, then the cars are repossessed. Now, they won't answer the phone when Corey needs cash.
I think what the turning point was, Corey called to ask for money to be put in his account for him to be able to access while he's away.
But Corey had only seen Brown and Jones's upkeep records, not any actual payment receipts.
Me not knowing this was something that they typed up themselves and printed up.
There was never any money put in his account.
In June of 1999, Rachel receives a final notice. The beautiful 4-bedroom house that Corey bought his mother is officially being taken from her.
You've already lost your car, and then right after that, all your credit card limits were shut down, and then you get the notice from the bank that you're about to lose your house.
In order to stop the foreclosure, the family will have to pay nearly $11,000. They need access to Corey's money right away, but the Summit management partners are still nowhere to be found.
I would go down there, go to the office. You could not get in. I was angry.
It's like they fell off the face of the earth.
Corey and his mother are about to get down to the bottom of things. By any means, his mother is ready to fight for her son.
And I was, I had a Louisville Slugger in my car. I was ready to do battle.
Next, Corey's career is in jeopardy.
Mentally, I was not there. I couldn't play baseball no more.
But Jones and Brown are invisible.
There was not a dime ever invested on behalf of any of these clients. So that was a big lie. Probably the biggest.
Corey Jenkins is a minor league baseball player with major league financial problems. According to his managers, James Brown and Darnell Jones, his $500,000 signing bonus and other earnings have been squandered by his own mother.
There was no proper accounting of where that money was coming from. That his money was siphoned away as fast as it came in.
When Corey asks Jones and Brown for his hard-earned cash, they don't answer his calls. After weeks of not hearing from them and watching the foreclosure notices coming in, they figure out that the money is really gone, as are the men who were responsible for it. The family is forced out of their 4-bedroom home into a cramped 2-bedroom apartment.
My mom lost her house. House, gone, repossessed. Pack up and move.
From a financial standpoint, that was probably one of the worst things that our family has endured together. Emotionally, I think that brought us closer together as well, because we had to find our way back.
It can be so upsetting when a father figure breaks the trust that a young man has in him. It's difficult enough that they don't have their original father with them. For that person to step away and betray them or just leave them, abandon them, is devastating.
A month after losing her house, Rachel decides to fight. She files a civil suit against Jones and Brown.
I'm not gonna let this woman take it away.
That's when I hired an attorney, because I was getting nowhere. I had to do a lot of praying, and a lot of praying, and a lot of praying, because I was very angry.
Corey doesn't realize he's not the only one taken in by Jones and Brown. The same month Rachel loses her house, local sports legend Stephen Davis of the Washington Redskins walks into the DC FBI office to report that his agents at Summit Management have stolen money from him. Like Corey, Davis signed over power of attorney to the Summit partners, but now Davis has more influence and is ready to take them on.
Stephen Davis, when he went to the Washington field office, claimed that he had, I think it was around $380,000 that Summit Management Group had control of his money, and it was his belief at the time that it was all gone.
Within weeks, Special Agent Ron Grossi, based in South Carolina, begins his investigation of Summit Management. The investigators soon find that Brown and Jones appear to have a standard MO when attracting young players.
They showed them how to live a high life, and they showed them how to live it together. And it was very much of a band of brothers atmosphere that these guys cultivated among their clients.
A lot of this money went to maintaining, especially Darnell Jones's lifestyle. French shirts, cufflinks. He was very articulate, smooth talking. My recollection is that he drove a BMW. You know, an expensive car means you're doing well. So he presented the image of being a successful businessman, a person who could be trusted.
Later that month, the FBI tries to pay them a visit at their offices. The Bureau finds that Summit Management has its own housing problems. They've been kicked out of their plush offices in Columbia, South Carolina. They'd left much of the business's paperwork behind. The FBI obtains a search warrant and looks into the financials. In early 2000, the investigation of Summit Management kicks into high gear. The Bureau learns of the agency's extensive client list. Some of South Carolina's best young athletes. Reggie Taylor of Newberry High, who was drafted by the Phillies in 1995. Gookie Dawkins, also of Newberry, who was drafted by the Reds in 1997, and Victor Riley, who played at Auburn, then went on to play for the Chiefs.
When we started to get into bank records, we could really see the picture of how they operated and what was going on.
Around the same time, Corey's game is suffering. The star athlete who just wanted to play ball can't keep his mind on the game.
How's he supposed to get in the major leagues with all that on his shoulders? You know, he just couldn't do it.
Corey finds out he owes more than $40,000 in back taxes, interest, and penalties. The stress is too much. Corey decides to leave the game he loves.
Mentally, I was not there. I called my mom on the phone, told her, I said, Mom, coming home. I couldn't play baseball no more.
For Corey, his dream may be quashed, but Brown and Jones's nightmare is just beginning. The Bureau finds Summit has made a practice of squandering players' signing bonuses and obtaining bad loans.
You could see their bonus money going into the account, and almost immediately the money was transferred to a Summit Management Group account, a loan, an account that they controlled by themselves in their name.
Not only were these two taking money from these athletes, Jones and Brown weren't growing their money as they'd promised.
There was not a dime ever invested on behalf of any of these clients. You know, that was a big lie, probably the biggest.
Coming up, the depth and breadth of deception.
So you don't have to be a great athlete to make millions of dollars in sports. You just have to find a great athlete and rip them off.
Darnell Jones and James Brown have promised many young athletes to manage their careers while growing and managing their money.
If you want to make millions of dollars, you don't actually have to be a great athlete. You just have to find a great athlete and rip them off.
And rip them off, they did. A field investigation by the FBI's South Carolina office reveals that the sports agents at Summit Management are taking money from their clients' accounts and squandering it. The Bureau has also uncovered something just as startling.
And we're not professional sports agents, which requires a license, at least in this state, but they held themselves out to be financial managers.
Authorities discover that 5 years earlier, Brown and Jones had failed in a joint real estate venture and have no expertise in financial management.
Any financial advisor who starts right off the bat with, give me a power of attorney, you should run the other way.
Brown and Jones have an associate at a local credit union who has been issuing illegal loans in their clients' names. By looking into the loans given by the credit union, as well as Summit's bookkeeping practices, the Bureau uses the credit union case to build one against Brown and Jones.
We put the two cases together, but it was that indictment that included Corey Jenkins and other athletes as victims of Summit Management.
Investigators find that before getting at their money, Jones and Brown gained the confidence and friendship of the players' families.
Like a lot of con men, Brown and Jones were charismatic, they were friendly, they were likable.
They insert themselves into the household, which is often financially unstable and headed by one parent.
Corey was very devastated when his dad and I separated. So they kind of filled in those voids, that male bonding on the father level.
They sat down at a kitchen table with the victim's mother and promised, I'll look after your son. And then go out and do completely the opposite.
Here's your $575,000 in the bank this day. Days later, here's your $575,000 in the bank, gone.
Corey's money is brazenly used to reel in other athletes and to accommodate Summit's personal needs. Jones has a standing account at Columbia's leading clothier, Granger Owings.
Image is everything. When Marion Darnell Jones especially would meet with somebody, I mean, he wore a very expensive suit.
He also sends potential clients there to buy clothes, unwittingly paid for by the rest of his recruits.
French shirts, cufflinks. He presented the image of being a successful businessman, a person who could be trusted.
In time, Summit blows through all of the athletes' money and can't pay their own bills, much less those of their clients, even as this duo promises returns on the investments they never actually make.
One of the keys was that they claimed they would invest their money for them. Your money, you won't lose money with us. Your money will grow while you're out playing your sport.
They mail Corey and the other athletes an accounting of their cash and other holdings. Summit didn't just mismanage funds, they lied about them.
In fact, the FBI, because of their thorough investigation, was able to determine that Summit Management Group had none of those holdings, none of those investments.
Sending these false ledgers to the players constitutes mail fraud. 4 years and hundreds of thousands of dollars later, Summit has ripped off almost a dozen athletes, all of whom are black.
They had 11 athlete clients, and then there were maybe half a dozen other financial investors, and then maybe another half a dozen financial institutions that loaned them money.
Jones and Brown have used the fame and talents of others for their own personal gain.
We trust these guys. And it's not an issue of if they're going to try to rip us off or not, because we didn't feel that way, because we felt like they were genuine.
As the investigation continues, Corey gets the answers he's looking for.
When I saw how things happen, how quickly they happen, and some of the things he spent money on, you know, when it came to strip clubs and flying guys out of town.
In January 2001, the FBI presents a 56-count indictment to a grand jury. Days later, Brown and Jones turn themselves in. But Summit had already done plenty of damage.
His mother didn't own a house, his mother didn't own a car, everything was gone. That's an example, and that happened with most of the young guys.
On January 25th, 2001, Jones and Brown are arraigned. The same month, a judge awards Corey's family restitution from the civil suit filed 2 years prior.
But by that time, they've run out of money themselves.
It was not a whole lot you could do. I tried everything under the sun. I hired attorneys and everything, but everything was just gone.
Corey's lost almost $500,000 and his career. The reality hits him hard.
So now the anger and everything starts up all over again. Like, I am pissed off all over again.
Jones and Brown used other people's cash to fund their lavish lifestyles and keep other players interested.
They were using money that came in later to pay expenses of earlier clients. It appeared to be a classic Ponzi scheme.
Corey fell for the simple promise of friendship and loyalty, but was part of a larger scheme.
James and Darnell, they plotted from day one. They had patience, you know?
In the end, the two men would turn against each other. In August of 2001, James Brown pled guilty to mail fraud in exchange for his cooperation with the prosecution's case against Darnell Jones. In November of 2002, Brown goes to a federal correctional institute.
He was sentenced to 21 months in prison, followed by supervised release, and it was probably a 3 or 5 year term of supervised release, plus an amount of restitution.
And Corey's left to rebuild his life.
They didn't tear us down slowly. They tore us a little bit, and then boom, one big shot. And we had no clue of it.
Next, Corey sets his sights on rebuilding his career, this time in the NFL. But fate will again bring Corey face to face with one of the men who took away his dream.
I said, I can't do it, man. There's no way y'all gonna make me go in there and sit next to him. No way I'm gonna do that.
By the fall of 2002, James Brown and Darnell Jones are serving time. Brown is sentenced to 21 months in prison, and Jones is serving 41 months for each of their parts in defrauding Corey Jenkins and other black professional athletes. Corey Jenkins is still seething.
I was angry at them, and I was angry at myself for allowing it to happen. So many of us lost so much.
Corey channels his rage, enrolling in college. In August 2001, he gets back in the game, this time on the football field. He becomes a valued player for the Gamecocks at the University of South Carolina.
I can't think of a single athlete that could spend 6 years away from football, you know, playing minor league baseball, and then go back and be a quarterback in the SEC. I mean, those are once-in-a-lifetime athletes.
In 2002, the Gamecocks coaching staff invites a guest to talk to players about finding the right manager. Corey couldn't be more stunned by who he sees.
The team brought in a quote-unquote expert to talk to the team about financial fraud. It turned out that expert was James Brown.
At first, Corey doesn't want to face that hurtful part of his past.
I said, I can't do it, man. There's no way y'all gonna make me go in there and sit next to him. No way. I'm gonna do that.
He wanted to take physical vengeance on them. And he decided ultimately that was the wrong thing to do, but you can't blame somebody for being that angry. So he went through all these steps of shock, of anger, of coping, of trying to put it back together. And then again, it was his discipline and his resolve that let him sit through that and stare Brown down in their last encounter.
In the spring of 2003, Corey is drafted by the Miami Dolphins. Today, Corey is a football coach at Gray Academy. As to the $400,000 restitution Summit Partners was supposed to pay, more than a decade later, Corey's family still hasn't received a dime.
20 years on, that's how long it takes the victims to recover from stuff like this.
You caused my family a lot of hurt and pain. You caused a lot of trauma in my son's life, as well as our life.
Corey is well aware that 2 of his dreams may have been deferred.
This stuff would have never happened. I honestly believe I definitely would have played both sports professionally at the same time. Bo Jackson, baby.